Um, okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Namo Vishnu.
Krishna, Vaishnavas.
Hare Krishna, Srila Guru
Hare
Maharaj.
Krishna Prabhupada.
I just wanted to know if we are going to have a short meeting. I asked or not. Are we?
Yes, I can be there. I can stay.
Yeah.
Yes, I can stay too.
So you do it normally, and then we talk at the end. Please send me a message 5 minutes before the end. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Mananath Prabhuti Nami Vandeham Shri Paramananda Yasya Prabhupada Nanda Visham Shriman Mananatha Nama Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Srila Guru Deva Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for being here, and for anyone who's watching live or who will be seeing this recording. Let's see. Today, I believe we're starting on. I think it's text 12,
I think it's 13.
13.
Yeah, I think we finished with 12.
Who could fail to be attracted? Oh, okay. Okay, text 13 then.
Just judging from where my bookmark is. That
Okay. I mean I think that sounds right. I think yeah, I mean, I was skimming through text 12 and I think we did read it. Probably if I read the purport, it would it'd be easier to remember. Okay. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Nara Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayeshva badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna-prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaudavani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Okay, I go. Hare Krishna Vanga Prabhu. Okay, so today we're reading Canto 2, Chapter 3, Pure Devotional Service, The Change in Heart, Text 13. Shaunaka Uvacha Ityabhivyahritam Raja Nishyamya Bharatarshabha Kim Anyat Prishtavan Bhuyo Vayasa Kim Rishim Kavim. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shaunaka said, the son of Vyasadeva, Srila Sukadeva Goswami, was a highly learned sage and was able to describe things in a poetic manner. What did Maharaj Parikshit again inquire from him after hearing all that he had said? Purport. The pure devotee of the Lord automatically develops all godly qualities, and some of the prominent features of those qualities are as follows. He is kind, peaceful, truthful, equable, faultless, magnanimous, mild, clean, non-possessive, a well-wisher to all, satisfied, surrendered to Krishna, without hankering, simple, fixed, self-controlled, a balanced eater, sane, mannerly, prideless, grave, sympathetic, friendly, poetic, expert, and silent. Out of these 26 prominent features of a devotee, as described by Krishnadas Kaviraj in his Chaitanya Charitamrita, the qualification of being poetic is especially mentioned herein in relation to Sukadeva Goswami. The presentation of Srimad Bhagavatam by his recitation is the highest poetic contribution. He was a self-realized, learned sage. In other words, he was a poet amongst the sages. The verse again, Shaunaka Uvacha Ityabhivyahritam Raja Nisamya Bharata Shabbaha Kimanyat Prishtavan Bhuyo Vayasa Kim Rishim Kavim. Translation. Saunaka said, the son of Vyasadeva, Srila Sukadeva Goswami, was a highly learned sage and was able to describe things in a poetic manner. What did Maharaj Parikshit again inquire from him after hearing all that he had said? Okay, so today's purport is very nice, short. Srila Prabhupada is highlighting the qualities of a devotee. It's actually very nice. It's just a very nice purport or explanation on the verse, how Shaunaka is talking about Srila Sukadeva Goswami's poetic manner and how Srila Prabhupada took it as a nice opportunity to expand upon not just the poetic quality of a devotee, but of all these other 25 qualities. So, and I would never have thought of Shukadeva Goswami as describing him as poetic. So this is very interesting that Shaunaka Rishi saw him in that manner, that as he was explaining the Srimad Bhagavatam, that it was like poetry to him. So that's not the first. When I would think of Shukadeva Goswami, I would think maybe grave, um, kind. Yeah, he's being kind, but and I guess in my head, I when I think of Shukadeva Goswami, I think of someone very serious, and yeah, someone very serious. I mean, he was only, I think at this time, he was only 16, and to be speaking on the Srimad Bhagavatam in front of, I don't know how many thousands or hundreds, thousands of sages assembled there, and for all of the sages there to recognize Shukadeva Goswami as someone so exalted to even stand up, that some of these sages, I think it's described in the first canto, some of them who were present there, that, and Prabhupada gives us a like brief history about them and their stature and history, and how important many of the sages present there were, like how exalted of personalities they were, and probably old too in age. And so for these sages there, when Shukadeva Goswami arrives, they stand up. They actually pay such deep respect to him, who's 16, 16-year-old like young man, for to receive that kind of a reception from those kinds of sages and devotees is it's amazing. And so having that in mind, um, just thinking, yeah, just having this kind of picture of Shukadeva Goswami. And so it's very nice that Shaunaka Rishi describes him in this way of being poetic, because it grants like a different kind of perspective of Shukadeva Goswami as a person, like this other side of him, that he does have this soft heart, that he can really speak on the truth. If he's speaking on the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the truth, but he's speaking on it in such a way that's actually very pleasing to the ears too. It's not so harsh or so maybe heavy, that we can't really absorb the message. But he's actually explaining it in a very nice way. So it's nice when we can have this other vision of these exalted devotees through the eyes of exalted devotees, because they have a deeper vision than we can have. So if you have a devotee describing another devotee, they can highlight these qualities that maybe, at least in my case, I'm not so able to see. So it's actually it's very nice. Um, One last thing too is that I believe Guru Maharaj got a question. It's like a kind of a typical question that we ask, especially early on, or maybe later on. But in our Krishna consciousness, um, how we can know if we're making progress. Like, how do we know if we're making progress in our Krishna consciousness? And I think he was like, I don't remember which book. I want to say maybe Brilliant as the Sun, or yeah, I think it's that one. But the question was posed to him, to Guru Maharaj, and his response was um, one of the verses in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is talking about the qualities, these qualities of, I think, of a Brahmana. I don't remember which one. Maybe Lavanga Prabhu remembers, but it's one of the verses where Krishna is speaking on these are the qualities of a Brahminical person, of a sage. And
Are you
so,
talking about in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhu?
yeah, Bhagavad Gita.
That would be like in the 18th chapter, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's like a list. Yeah, just like a list of qualities that are given.
Similar to this list,
Yeah.
self-control, just clean, things like that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so Guru Maharaj was speaking about how we can measure our progress in Krishna consciousness based on these qualities. And so how much are we embodying these qualities, or how far are we from embodying these qualities? If we can kind of check the box that, oh, I would consider myself kind, I'm pretty peaceful, I've had these kind of situations happen in my life that would probably make someone go crazy, but I was kind of peaceful about it. So I think I'm peaceful, truthful, I try to tell the truth, and so on. So this is a way that we can kind of um, self analyze. Yeah, I guess like self analyze, just to see where we are falling in our Krishna consciousness. Because if we are becoming more Krishna conscious, then naturally these qualities should be developing. And it's not that we just continue chanting and then they will just appear one day. But we chant, and then we also are trying to practice them, and we might find that many times we fall short, or we might fall very, very short of these qualities, but still we just that's kind of the adventure, you could say, of our life, that we get to try embodying these qualities, and and the and the the extension of that, or I guess the contrast of how we're practicing following these qualities versus someone who is not spiritual, is that we're ultimately trying to embody these qualities for Krishna, that this is something eternal, that us practicing and trying to be more kind, trying to be more peaceful, trying to be faultless and a balanced eater and poetic and silent, and all these qualities, these 26 qualities, that our endeavor and our practice to try to embody them is something that is benefiting us eternally, because we're doing it with the focus on Krishna. Whereas someone who doesn't have a spiritual path, because we can find that if we look out, on social media and so many different places, that people are kind of can emphasize that to be more kind, or to be clean. You might have like a self-help. There's so many self-help people and life coaches now, that they can be talking about these same exact qualities here, but it's lacking the spiritual component. And so it won't give us like an ultimate benefit if we can't connect it back to Krishna. And so this is the nice thing of how another way for us to see how universal Krishna consciousness is, that you can look outside and there's people practicing aspects of Krishna consciousness. It's just without the understanding of involving Krishna in what they're already doing. So again, just highlighting how Prabhupada talks about that Krishna consciousness is our natural state. This isn't something that is separate, that it's something new, it's something different from like our old life, or different in our old life in the way of, I mean, there's a lot of differences, but there's also a lot of similarities. And so Krishna consciousness being something that's natural to us, and that we just continue speaking about it, we continue hearing, and we can see how natural it is for us and also for other people to follow who maybe aren't practicing right now, which can make it easier to connect with other people who are not practicing right now. That can be kind of a hindrance early on, that because we can't see the connection of how Krishna consciousness is universal, we can't really make that connection for someone else either. And so we can so we want to show how Krishna consciousness is just naturally in our life, basically. Is, I guess that's the last thing that I was wanting to say, is that this is a universal process, and it's just helping ourselves to see that and to continue practicing it, and then helping others in whatever way we can, helping them also to see that, and helping them to start taking steps on the path as well. It helps us, and it helps them when we're able to share with someone else. Yeah, so that's all that I wanted to say. If anyone else had any other points that they'd like to add.
I was thinking about what you said. Well, two things. One at the end about Shukadeva Goswami being poetic, and really the Bhagavatam, at least the Sanskrit part of it, it rhymes when it's chanted in the appropriate meter. So really, the whole entire Bhagavatam in itself is a poem. And one of the nicknames for Prabhupada, I believe, was Kaviraj, because he wrote a very nice poem for his spiritual master Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati on his I believe it was his appearance day. So a devotee is naturally poetic. You know, they say every word in the spiritual world is a song and every step is a dance. So is that they speak very sweetly, which goes along with the Bhagavad Gita that words must be truthful, beneficial, and pleasing to others. So Shukadeva Goswami accomplishes this when he speaks the Bhagavatam. Also, another point um, about this is that trying to be what we are. This Krishna consciousness is inherent in the soul. So really, when we're getting knowledge, we're actually uncovering the knowledge that we already have within us, but it's been covered over by various things, material desires and things like that. So reading this Bhagavatam is helping cut through all these layers of dirt and dust so we can actually remember who we are. So really, transcendental knowledge, we don't, in one sense, we're not learning, but we're remembering. Kind of like this verse, Omaginatim Dishagina Jana Shalakaya, Shalakaya, we're glorifying the spiritual master for Shalakaya. Shalakaya means to force open the eyes. So offering respectful obeisances to the spiritual master who forcefully opened my eyes with the transcendental knowledge. So really, it's like the spiritual master's doing a surgical operation to help us kind of like remember who we actually are. So because it's different from like learning in school, because learning in school is like you're learning something which you didn't previously have, but Krishna consciousness you previously have. So in one sense, we're uncovering, not actually learning this, but uncovering our nature and who we actually are as Krishna conscious spirit souls. Also, about these qualities, one question I wanted to bring up is, what does it mean to be mild? Because this is the one quality I don't understand so clearly.
I mean, I can't say for sure. It's just what one thing that comes to mind is just Srila Prabhupada's example, how he wasn't so, with his demeanor, his moods and everything, he wasn't so, what's wild? Because yeah, you can be wild or mild. So I guess more of like grounded. That's what I would think. Mild in like demeanor and action and words. That's what I would think. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. I just googled it, and according to Google, it's a mild person is gentle and does not get angry easily. He is a mild man who is reasonable, almost to the point of blandness. Synonyms: gentle, kind, easy, soft. Okay. So,
Oh, were you, that was your last point, or is there anything else
yeah, that was my last. That question was my last thing. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But it's interesting that they added in this definition, does not get angry easily. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if Mata Yamuna or Bhakta Fabienne, if you all would like to add anything.
I don't have anything to add.
Okay.
Yes, I would like to say something about the verse. You, uh, all these qualities that are described, they are within the nature of the soul, the pure soul. So more we practice bhakti yoga, more this quality came in the light. Yes. So all this quality are they are in every soul, in the material world of the soul of the poor souls, the souls that are liberated, and in Goloka Vrindavana and Vaikuntha. Yes.
Right. Yeah, that's very nice. Thank you for adding that. Yeah, I mean, and that's true. If we're talking about, Srila Prabhupada says that these are the 26 prominent features of a devotee. So when we're talking about devotee, that's also we can. I mean, we can talk about devotees in the material world, and also devotees are in the spiritual world. So, okay. Mata Yamuna, would you like to read the next one? Text 14.
Okay. Let's see. Having trouble with my light. Okay. Text 14. Eta churushatam vidvan sutta no rasi basitum kata hari katodaka satam siyo sadasi dhruvam. O learned Sutta Goswami, please continue to explain such topics to us because we are all eager to hear. Besides that, topics which result in the discussion of the Lord Hari should certainly be discussed in the assembly of devotees. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. As we have already quoted above from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu of Rupa Goswami, even mundane things, if dovetailed in the service of the Lord Sri Krishna, are accepted as transcendental. For example, the epics or the histories of Ramayana and Mahabharata, which are specifically recommended for the less intelligent classes, women, Sudras, and unworthy sons of the higher castes, are also accepted as Vedic literature because they are compiled in connection with the activities of the Lord. Mahabharata is accepted as the fifth division of the Vedas after its first four divisions, namely Sama, Yajur, Rig, and Atharva. The less intelligent do not accept Mahabharata as part of the Vedas, but great sages and authorities accept it as the fifth division of the Vedas. Bhagavad Gita is also part of the Mahabharata, and it is full of the Lord's instruction for the less intelligent class of men. Some less intelligent men say that Bhagavad Gita is not meant for householders, but such foolish men forget that Bhagavad Gita was explained to Arjuna, a grihasta, family man, and spoken by the Lord in his role as a grihasta. So Bhagavad Gita, although containing the high philosophy of Vedic wisdom, is for the beginners in the transcendental science, and Srimad Bhagavatam is for graduates and postgraduates in the transcendental science. Therefore, literatures like Mahabharata, the Puranas, and similar other literatures which are full of the pastimes of the Lord are all transcendental literatures, and they should be discussed with full confidence in the society of great devotees. The difficulty is that such literatures, when discussed by professional men, appear to be mundane literature like histories or epics because there are so many historical facts and figures. It is said here, therefore, that such literature should be discussed in the assembly of devotees. Unless they are discussed by devotees, such literatures cannot be relished by the higher class of men. So the conclusion is that the Lord is not impersonal in the ultimate issue. He is the supreme person, and he has his different activities. He is the leader of all living entities, and he descends at his will and by his personal energy to reclaim the fallen souls. Thus, he plays exactly like the social, political, or religious leaders. Because such roles ultimately culminate in the discussion of topics of the Lord, all such preliminary topics are also transcendental. That is the way of spiritualizing the civic activities of human society. Men have inclinations for studying history and many other mundane literatures, stories, fiction, dramas, magazines, newspapers, etc. So let them be dovetailed with the transcendental service of the Lord, and all of them will turn to the topics relished by all devotees. The propaganda that the Lord is impersonal and that he has no activities and that he is a dumb stone without any name and form has encouraged people to become godless, faithless demons, and the more they deviate from the transcendental activities of the Lord, the more they become accustomed to mundane activities that only clear their path to hell instead of return them home back to Godhead. Even 50 years ago, the social structure of all Indians was so arranged that they would not read any literature that was not connected with the activities of the Lord. They would not play any drama not connected with the Lord. They would not organize a fair or ceremony not connected with the Lord. Nor would they visit a place that was not holy and sanctified by the pastimes of the Lord. Therefore, even the common man in the village would talk about Ramayana and Mahabharata, Gita and Bhagavatam, even from his very childhood. But by the influence of the age of Kali, they have been dragged to the civilizations of the dogs and hogs, laboring for bread without any sense of transcendental knowledge. That was the, let me bring back to the verse. Okay. Srimad Bhagavatam begins from the history of the Pandavas with necessary politics and social activities, and yet Srimad Bhagavatam is said to be the Paramahansa Samhita, or the Vedic literature meant for the topmost transcendentalists, and it describes Param Jnanam, the highest transcendental knowledge. Pure devotees of the Lord are all Paramahamsas, and they are like the swans who know the art of sucking milk out of a mixture of milk and water. So that was a little bit long, that purport. Let me go back and repeat the translation. O learned Sutta Goswami, please continue to explain such topics to us because we are all eager to hear. Besides that, topics which result in the discussion of the Lord Hari should certainly be discussed in the assembly of devotees. Okay. So, yes, everybody wanted to hear what Sutta Goswami had to say. As we discussed in earlier classes, he was very, and as Govinda has just mentioned, he was a very charismatic personality, very, young man with a lot of knowledge to share that everybody wanted to hear. And of course, if you're in the company of devotees, there's nothing more precious than just discussing the pastimes of the Lord, even though the pastimes in themselves are not considered to be the philosophy. The pastimes add enjoyment to the philosophy. They bring the realization of God as a personal being, instead of just the, as it mentions here, instead of just the impersonal, energy. So that's, this is very important, for us. And in other periods of time, people were more, in India anyhow, people were more constant in their discussing of Krishna and seeing Krishna and all of their activities, as in the footnote here mentions that it is not so nowadays. The normal human being has become more animal-like in their nature, and with less emphasis on the spiritual. And so that's all I have to say. I open the discussion for the others to add something.
I like this report a lot, actually. It's I find it very sweet, just talking about the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, recommended for the less intelligent classes. And really, everyone, well, just about everyone nowadays, especially in Kali Yuga, all like to hear stories. This is why novels are popular, or like the TV shows are popular, because we all want to hear stories about the activities of someone else. And we're not so attracted to dry philosophy. Like, for example, if you look at Vedanta Sutra, or some like literature like that, there's just philosophy in it. There's something else. Most humans can't, in this day and age, can't sit and relish that. They're like, oh yeah, this is amazing. But if something is told in a story, we remember it better, because most of us just about everybody in the Western world falls into this less intelligent class. Because you see here, you get this less intelligent class: Sudras, women, unworthy sons of the higher caste. So I was listening to a lecture one time from Prabhupada, where he was talking about how the kings and stuff from Europe and people from America were descended from the Kshatriyas that escaped India from when Parashuram was doing his thing of eliminating all the Kshatriyas that were not bona fide. So and I was thinking about that. I was like, okay, well, everybody just about falls into this category of Sudra women are unworthy sons of higher caste, because the Kshatriya is a higher caste, but they weren't following. So, and we can see that these Kshatriyas, they went into Europe and then they became kings. And if you read the history of Europe, you see how crazy that was, with all the kings and everybody trying to overthrow each other and all this envy and stuff like that. But yeah, so in Kali Yuga, it's described that our intelligence, it decreases and decreases with the age. And so therefore Krishna is so kind that actually, he gives us literatures like Ramayana and Mahabharata, and even Srimad Bhagavatam, which is basically just pastimes of the Lord and his devotees. And the philosophy is kind of interwoven in these pastimes. So Vyasadeva, seeing in Kali Yuga that people were becoming less intelligent, and that everything was diminishing, he wrote down the Srimad Bhagavatam to give the highest thing, the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he also gave Mahabharata. So these things, they help gradually attract us back to Krishna, because this is basically what Krishna does all the time. He has pastimes. Go look over Vrindavan. You don't hear about them sitting down and contemplating beyond Vedanta Sutra so much. You hear about Krishna going off and doing this and doing that. And so really, these activities that you hear about Krishna doing, we all have some part in that, in the spiritual world. And so also what Prabhupada mentions here is that, these things are histories, like Ramayana and Mahabharata. So people, intellectual people, they want to know about the histories of the world. They want to know about the activities of their ancestors and things like that. But if you read Mahabharata, you hear about the activities of our ancestors, because Prabhupada mentions how at one time this whole society was under Vedic culture. So really, ultimately, we all originally come from this culture. And Mahabharat means like the great the greater history of Bharat, or what's known as India. So Prabhupada, oftentimes he would mention how Bharat actually refers to the whole entire world, not just India within itself. So anyway, for me, I really like this program because I'm the type of person, like I think most people on the stage in Kali Yuga, that they like to hear things in story format. They like to hear philosophy in story format because it sticks better. And this is also why Prabhupada he liked dramas and things like that. The devotees to have dramas about the pastimes of the Lord, because it helps attract people to the Lord's pastimes. And you see how if you don't have that, then they're gonna go to the cinema, they're gonna go, to some theater, they're gonna read some novel, because people they want to hear, they actually want to hear pastime. But really, what's truly satisfying is to hear pastimes about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so that's actually why in Krishna consciousness, they say that one of the most important things is to be eager to hear Shravanam and Kirtanam. So this eagerness to hear about Krishna, and hear about Krishna's activities. Like I said, I mentioned in the previous verse about this uncovering. This is part of the uncovering the knowledge of who we actually are. And so this propensity to hear, it's like we're not going to get rid of it, but we have to dovetail it. But we're going to hear something. I mean, this is why, Netflix makes so much money. This is why, all these streaming services make so much money. These are all pastimes, but they're pastimes. It's like, ordinary people or whatever, and people are attracted to it. But like Prabhupada was mentioning here in India, at least at one time, people wouldn't have a drama or something that didn't have to do with the pastimes of the Lord. And actually, I was thinking about when Bollywood was first coming out. At least somebody told me. I'm not an expert in Bollywood, and I don't watch very many Bollywood films. But according to what I've heard from people who have more understanding of the modern history of India, they said that originally they would do more films that were based on the activities of the Lord, or the activities of Krishna, Ramayana, Mahabharata, things like this. And in fact, I think it was in the 80s, back in the 80s, when they had the Mahabharata TV show, they said that India would basically like shut down, and people would just sit and watch that TV show, the Mahabharata, because they were so attracted to it. And now you see, I mean, I've only seen maybe 2 or 3 Bollywood films in my life, because there are some devotees that are kind of like into that, and so they pulled me along. And I've noticed that basically it's kind of like mimicking Hollywood now. You got the love stories of like girls and boys and things like that, and these types of things. So so you can see even now how things are changing, things are coming more degraded. But it's interesting to note that originally people would do, movies and shows acting out these pastimes in Mahabharata. Even when I was in Mayapur, I remember the Gurukul there, the Mayapur International School. For a while, they were putting on plays of the Mahabharata, and they were kind of going in order. And so I would look forward to this, like every month, like when's the next one going to come out? And it was like it was the best thing ever. And it was so, and you felt different, going and seeing this type of activity versus seeing anything else. And of course, there can be, other, like maybe you can extract some lesson from some modern movie or some modern show, or maybe you can say, okay, well, this has to do with the mode's material nature, or this lesson has to do with what happens when one is greedy. But it doesn't give the same satisfaction as, hearing directly, things about the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So anyway, there's a lot in this purport, but that's just kind of a couple of realizations that I had.
Yeah, thank you so much for extracting the nectar from Srila Prabhupada purport. It makes me think of the previous verse where I was talking about how Shanaka Rishi was extracting these qualities of Shukadeva Goswami. I feel like you were extracting these this nectar from Srila Prabhupada's purport that I that I missed while we were going through it. So thank you. I'm also very much into like history and reading about. I mean, just like all of us are, that we like pastimes, we like histories and knowing about like who's who, why are they important, what do they do. So one thing that stood out to me in the verse was, let's see, where did we say it? Well, basically where Prabhupada was talking about how, I think it's in the second. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah. Where he says in the second paragraph that it is said here, therefore, that such literature should be discussed in the assembly of devotees. Unless they are discussed by devotees, such literatures cannot be relished by the higher class of men. And it makes me think of a pastime with Prabhupada where I don't remember, I think it was at an airport, but he was giving like a welcome address while he had just arrived at the airport, and there was a journalist, it was a lady who was talking to him and asking him questions. And then I don't remember the exact question she brought up, but Prabhupada's response to this lady who seemed very like, higher class, or very kind of like what would you say, like put together, like intelligent. The devotee who's talking about, who's sharing the pastime, he was describing her like that. And so Prabhupada's response to her was that he started talking about the pastime where Krishna saves the 16,100 princesses from not who was the demon that he saved them from? It's not Banasura, right? It's that Krishna saved the 16,100 princesses. Who was that demon?
I thought it was Bomasaur.
Balma or Bana?
Boma.
Oh, Balma. Oh, okay, Balma. Okay.
I was thinking it was him.
I said I don't think it's Banasura, but I forgot that there's Balma. Okay, so yeah, anyways, okay, not to detract from the pastime. So Srila Prabhupada is talking to a journalist who seemed very like intelligent. She's like put together, and then he starts saying this pastime of how Krishna saved these 16,100 princesses from Balmasura. And then afterwards he got to the point where Krishna, he just looked at the princesses and he said, come on. And then like he's like leading them out of the prison. And the devotee, I don't remember who's sharing the pastime, but the devotee said that when Prabhupada said, come on, the journalist, she just like it was like her heart just like burst open, like the emotion just hit her. I was just thinking of, I guess, like the hero, like Krishna being like the hero. Like she felt like he said he could see that it just opened her wide open. And initially he was thinking that, Prabhupada, you're gonna be talking about like this pastime where Krishna's like saving these many princesses and that. And so he was just thinking, in his mind, he thought that it wasn't like the right pastime to be telling this journalist because of how she appeared, and maybe she should have like been listening to a different pastime. But it's like right here, like what it's telling us, that because Prabhupada is a pure devotee, she was able to relish that pastime. She was able to really actually like feel it, and with no knowledge of Krishna, with no no knowledge, no kind of context. It was just prior to this initial meeting with Prabhupada, with this such an exalted personality. She didn't have any kind of prior experience to that. But even with this pastime, that um, for someone, it could just seem very like out there, very far out. She still had that emotion, that emotional response to it, and was able to relish it. So I thought that was a nice that when we were reading that part of the purport, it made me think of that. How, yeah, when we're hearing these pastimes from the devotees, it's just it's. I mean, I've never heard pastimes from like professional reciters, so I don't know. I would just imagine that it's kind of like what Lavanga Prabhu was talking about when you watch like a movie that's not really spiritual. It's just kind of about everyday things, that there could be lessons there and things to learn, but it just kind of feels like there's something missing, like there's something like it doesn't hit all the way deeply like something spiritual does. So I would think that if you're listening to the literatures from someone who's not a devotee, that it will be similar to that. I'm not sure, but oh, where was I going with that? So, oh, I mean, just basically going on that point too, and then uh, yeah, another nice example is like Dinabandhu Prabhu, when he speaks about like Vrindavan Leela, and it's just when you have these devotees who they're just completely absorbed, engrossed in Krishna's Leela and Krishna's pastimes, that when they speak on these, it just feels like a whole another level. It's almost as if it's like when you hear about when you hear it through their mouth, it's like they're talking about these pastimes as if they were there, as if they were like present, and they're like, oh, this is what happened. And so it's a completely different experience. Um, so I guess there's two aspects of it that I can think of, that when we're listening to pastimes or hearing philosophy, that that it's recommended to hear it from devotees, because um, it would just the conclusions, the purposes, the purports to these philosophies and pastimes will be able to penetrate our hearts and mind in a deeper level than someone who's not. And also, and the second thing is that it's just more relishable. We just derive more pleasure from hearing these pastimes and philosophy from devotees. So more reason for us to just continue hearing from devotees when it comes to Krishna, and when it comes to Krishna consciousness. Yeah.
This would be a good plug about Maharaja's Mahabharata from my Yan book.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I think it's about time, isn't it? Do you guys have?
yeah.
I have 11 o'clock.
Yeah, Dr. Fabian has something to add today, because before we finish.
Oh yes.
Yes. I have something to say about this verse. Yes, it said that this literature, Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, should be read by devotee in the assembly of devotee, because why? Because they are connected to the spiritual platform. Yes. So there are different understanding of what is written. Yeah. Because there are different persons, so different minds, way of thinking, desires, and so when someone want to be paid for reading Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita or other literature, Veda literature, they don't give the same power in his words, in what they say, like a devotee connected to the spiritual platform. Yes. Yes, only this. Yes, yes, only that.
Right, thank you very much. And yeah, I mean, as Lavanga Prabhu was mentioning, yeah, just I guess just to wrap up, if anyone is listening to this recording, because that I mean that was like that is like a perfect plug. If anyone's listening to the recording, then yes, please, like Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here about Mahabharata, Ramayana. We're very fortunate that that Guru Maharaj, His Grace Mananatha Maharaj, has written, I guess you would call them like abridged versions of the Mahabharata and Ramayana. They're available on gadachaeditions.org. Or is it .com? I think it's .com. gadachaeditions.com. So please take advantage. If there's any last questions or anything before we wrap up here. Okay. Well, thank you all very much for joining us. I think we're going to stay on the call on this. We're going to stay on the Zoom class just because we have a meeting here.